Welcome to shortsciti. Join us on an epic journey as we delve into the world of 300, Rise of an Empire. Brace yourselves for breathtaking battles, stunning visuals, and unforgettable moments. Subscribe now for thrilling reviews, discussions, and more. Let's conquer cinematic greatness together. The first Persian invasion of Greece took place in 490 BC, and Queen Gorgo, Lena Headey, tells the story of King Darius, Egal Nair, leading his army of Persians into Greece in the Battle of Marathon. At the coast, Sullivan Stapleton's character, Themistocles, the Athenian general, led his own force in opposition to them. One by one, the Greeks killed the invading Persians with brutality and ease, opening the door for Themistocles to target Darius, who is watching his soldiers being massacred from his ship offshore. With a bow and arrow raised, Themistocles prepares to do the deed that would establish his legendary status. Rodrigo Santoro's character, Darius's son Xerxes, watches as he releases the bow. As the arrow pierces him, he rushes to his father's side, but it's too late to save him. Xerxes embraces his father and makes eye contact with Themistocles. Gorgo claims to have known deep down that he should have killed Xerxes when he had the opportunity. Before the latter leaves, Darius is brought back to his realm to lie down on his demise. Artemisia, Eva Green, Darius's leading naval officer, who is reputed to be as ferocious as she is gorgeous, joins him and Xerxes. Her hand is held by Darius. In his final hours, he advises Xerxes to leave the Greeks alone because only the gods are capable of defeating them. To put a stop to his misery, Artemisia removes the arrow from his chest. Xerxes sits and laments his father's passing for a week. Eighth day Xerxes is held by Artemisia, who informs him that his father's final words were a challenge rather than a warning. She informs him that he will become the god king if the gods can only vanquish the Greeks. Xerxes is dispatched into the desert by Artemisia while bound, and he finds a pool of brilliant gold liquid inside a cave. Gorgo claims that Xerxes intervenes because he has a sinister thirst for vengeance and power. Xerxes appears, hairless, a foot taller, his eyes a flaming red with a hint of gold. In the meantime, Artemisia eliminates every one of Xerxes's previous allies. When he gets back to Persia, Artemisia is directly behind him as he addresses the populace. "For glory's sake, war," he exclaims. The Persians applaud vociferously. A decade later, in 480 BC, Artemisia is getting ready to raise her navy at sea, and Xerxes is planning to lead his army across Thermopylae on land. Greece is invaded for the second time by the Persians. Themistocles meets with the council in Athens to go over his own naval plan for fighting the Persian invaders. The Athenians are reluctant to send their troops to die in battle, despite their intense desire to defeat the Persians. Themistocles demands that the greatest ships be sent for him to fight in because he believes it is in Greece's best interests to fight for freedom. He also informs the council that he will turn to the Spartans for assistance. Themistocles goes to Sparta to ask King Leonidas and his soldiers for assistance. He enters a training session where several Spartans are beating up a man who is trying to defend himself. The man gets severely wounded. When Themistocles meets David Wenham's character Dilios, he is informed that Leonidas has already started leading his soldiers on foot and that he has already dealt with the emissary that was sent from Persia. Themistocles is informed by Queen Gorgo that the Spartans do not hold the same ideals of a free nation as he does. A prisoner is brought before Artemisia on her ship in the meantime. Two of her guards receive a reprimand from him for being Greek and serving a woman of Greek descent who has a strong allegiance to an enemy country. Sword in hand, Artemisia declares, her heart is Persian, but she may be Greek. She throws the man's head overboard the ship after decapitating him. She notices a soldier she doesn't know on the ship. He brags, "Well, then, allow me to introduce myself," before dispatching a number of Persians. He is the Athenian sentinel Silius, Callan Mulvey, a spy on the Persians. He does a backflip into the sea to evade the Persian arrows. Themistocles and his lieutenant Icolos, Hans Matheson, receive a report from Silius and his son Callisto, Jack O'Connell. Silius informs them that Artemisia is leading the Persians at sea. She is thought to be the only person who survived an attack on her community. An old photo flashes back to tell us about her. When Artemisia was a little girl, she was horrified and helpless as she witnessed her parents being killed in front of her eyes. Artemisia is kicked in the face by an invading soldier who approaches her. The girl was raped and mistreated by the soldiers over the years, and eventually they abandoned her for dead on the side of the road. The Persian envoy, Peter Mensa, the same one Leonidas kicked into the bottomless pit in the last 300th movie, finds her and tends to her needs. When she was ready to see it burn, she was going back to Greece. The emissary gradually instructs Artemisia in fighting. As an adult, she demonstrates her speed and danger by bringing numerous severed heads of Darius's opponents to him, gaining her the title of general. Despite knowing this, Themistocles still plans his attack for the fight. Icholos notes that the endeavor is suicidal because their tiny navy is outnumbered by the far larger Persian navy. Themistocles responds, "That's the plan." With faith in his soldiers, Themistocles takes them all to the Aegean Sea in the present, where Artemisia is in command of her naval. The naval battle of Artemisium begins when her general Artaphernes, Ben Turner, informs her that General Bandari, Ashraf Barham, has devised his plot to lead the ships against the Greeks. Themistocles gives the men courage by urging them to fight with those who support them. The Athenians launch a full-scale assault on the Persian ships by smashing their ships into one another. This sparks another violent altercation in which the Athenians murder numerous Persians. Callisto fights beside Silius, hurling spears against the Persians as they do so, disappointed with the outcome. Artemisia has Bandari tied and cast into the water, where he eventually drowns. Although she acknowledges that she is unhappy with them particularly, the generals believe that she is disappointed about the loss of her men. She muses over the idea of getting support from someone. The Persians are forced to sail their ships through a narrow opening the following day by the Athenians, which causes the leading ship to become trapped and the remaining ships to collide with it. The Athenians leap in and start killing the Persians from the top of the rocks. Themistocles kills Cashmir, Christopher Surev, the second general to command them. When Silius watches, Callisto enters the battle, obviously not wanting to see his son suffer harm. From her ship, Artemisia observes, appreciating Themistocles' strategy in leadership. To get Themistocles onto Artemisia's barge, Artaphernes takes a boat to the coasts where the Athenians had made camp. When she leads him into her personal quarters, she praises his combat prowess. She asks him if he battles for anyone in particular back in Athens. According to Themistocles, he hasn't had time for a family or kids. He has the opportunity to join Artemisia in order to escape conflict and responsibilities. Subsequently, the pair engages in harsh, intense, and violent sexual activity, all of which her guards can plainly hear. Themistocles just says no, to which Artemisia responds fiercely, shoving him off of her and yelling at him that he is just a man and not a god. Upon his return to the camp, Themistocles informs his soldiers that Artemisia is ready to unleash hell on them. The Persian ships spill tar into the sea on the following day of combat, and several of their guards swim out to the Athenians wearing explosives strapped to their backs. Up until Artemisia shoots her arrows, the Athenians repel the guards. To light the tar, the Persians use flame-throwing arrows. As Callisto looks on, Artemisia shoots 3 more arrows, striking Silius. A big Persian throws torches to keep the fires going on one of the Persian ships. After taking an arrow to the body, he throws the torch at himself and burns himself alive. He plummets from the ship into the leaking tar, causing a firestorm that both explodes the Persian ship and an Athens vessel. As the Persian climbs on board Themistocles' ship, Artemisia fires another fiery arrow at his back. The Persian has an explosive on his back. Leaping at the Persian, he gives the order for everyone to get off the ship. Themistocles is forced to watch as the explosive detonates and destroys the ship before he can hit him. With pride, Artemisia observes her adversary's downfall. Themistocles drowns in the sea, buried among his fallen friends' corpses. 2 serpentine-like creatures swim at them, devouring them, and then one rushes toward him. Callisto jolts Themistocles out of this dream. He understands that this might have happened to him in order to crush his pride or serve as a reminder of his error in not killing Xerxes. As Silius is about to die, Themistocles approaches his side. Before passing away, he tells his companion something else and exhorts them to keep fighting. Themistocles laments his companion. When Callisto asks Themistocles what his father said in his final moments, Themistocles replies that he will let him know soon. After the bloody 3-day Battle of Thermopylae, a brief flashback to the last film, Xerxes and his army have just killed Leonidas and his 300 Spartans on land. The Persians march triumphantly on towards Athens as the birds pluck at the eyes of the dead Spartans. Themistocles receives word of the defeat via a messenger. He goes back to Sparta to face the malformed hunchback named Ephialtes, Andrew Tiernan, who sold the Spartans over to Xerxes and betrayed them. Even when Themistocles lowers his blade to him and tells him that there is little beauty in him and even less in what he has done, he does not shrink, appearing to be regretful for his conduct. Ephialtes continues, saying that Xerxes is advancing on Athens with his army in order to demolish it. He is left alive by Themistocles so that he can inform the Persians that the Greeks will fight to the death. Themistocles approaches Queen Gorgo to speak. Now partially blind, Dilios tells him not to expect a cordial greeting. Gorgo is still grieving the loss of her spouse. Themistocles begs her to help in the ongoing conflict, but she won't send any more husbands, fathers, or sons to be slaughtered. As he gives her Leonidas' sword, he declares that it is hers. Gorgo starts crying when he sees it. Athens is taken by the Persian army. As his soldiers massacre the populace and set fire to everything, Xerxes smugly hangs Leonidas' head over the city. He says that Themistocles was nothing more than a coward and keeps boasting about his triumph. Returning to Xerxes and Artemisia, Ephialtes informs them that the Greeks, under Themistocles' leadership once more, are pressing their battle into the sea. When Artemisia hears his name and discovers he is still alive, she swears to put an end to the Athenians for good. She heads out to get her command ready. Themistocles concedes that his soldiers might be tired of fighting since they too would not tolerate more deaths. In order to preserve their independence, he urges them to stand up for themselves and leave right away, but he also exhorts them to stay and fight. Let it be shown that we chose to die on our feet, rather than to live on our knees. The Greeks applaud. In their last combat at sea, the small number of Athenian ships takes on the vast Persian navy. Themistocles relays to Callisto his father's last words, which were that he deserves a seat at the table since he is prepared to battle. Themistocles and Artemisia are both about to lead their troops into combat once more. The crucial naval Battle of Salamis gets underway. As their ships collide, the Athenians launch a swift and vicious attack on the Persians. Artemisia, unwilling to watch helplessly, takes up her two swords and attacks the Greeks, eliminating as many of them as she can by herself. Through the fighting, Themistocles stays on his horse until he arrives at Artemisia's ship. He says he still says no, reminding her of her previous offer. She starts a duel with him out of rage. She comments that he fights harder than he fucks, as he fights fiercely. They keep fighting until they are facing each other with their swords hanging over their necks. Artemisia is told it's time to give up by Themistocles, who keeps rejecting her offer to join him. As they get closer to encircling the Persian fleet, we see Gorgo leading her army of Spartans and telling them the entire story before launching into her own stirring speech. Moreover, forces from additional allies participate in the conflict. While he still holds Artemisia with his blade to her throat, Themistocles points this out to her. He begs her to give up. Choosing not to, she reaches for her sword to cut her down, but Themistocles cuts her stomach with his blade in a split second. She falls on her knees, Artemisia. As she passes away, she sees the allied forces encircling her navy. Xerxes turns his back on her as he watches from the edge of the cliff. At last, Artemisia passes out, dead, right before Gorgo and Dilios board her ship to stand beside Themistocles. Athenians and Spartans unite to finally overcome the Persians in the film's epilogue. The naval Battle of Salamis was subsequently documented in history as one of the most significant naval engagements of antiquity, with the joint Athenian-Spartan victory compelling the Persians to permanently withdraw from Greece. Thank you for watching our video on shortsciti. We hope you enjoyed the content. If you liked what you saw and want to stay updated with all our latest releases, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support means the world to us. Stay tuned for more exciting videos coming your way. See you in the next one.